Hi, I'm Hannah from Maryland, and at only 15 years old, I became a criminal and even went to jail. I wasn't always like this, though. Before I continue, please like and subscribe. I grew up with my single dad as an only child, and he was insanely protective of me. He forced me to ride in a stroller till I was 6 years old and never let me go anywhere alone. I also wasn't allowed to go to a real school. Dad taught me at home because he said it was safer that way, whatever that meant. One night when I was 14, I decided to sneak out while Dad was sleeping. It felt so good to be free. I'd just gone a little further when I heard something that sounded like an explosion, and I saw a girl my age blowing up fireworks. Whoa, where'd you get those? I know a guy. Wanna blow some up with me? Sure. We went wild setting off fireworks, and I was having so much fun. Then all of a sudden, a bunch of cops came over along with Dad and the girl's parents.
Hannah, what is the matter with you? I thought you were kidnapped.
Kidnapped? You are so dramatic, Dad.
Young lady, do you girls know that setting off these fireworks are illegal?
Dad and the girl's parents convinced the cops to let us off with just a warning, but when I arrived home, Dad totally lost it. He threatened to install a home alarm system so I'd never run away again.
And that girl you were with? I've seen her before. People around the neighborhood say she's nothing but trouble. I don't want you talking to her.
Are you kidding me? That's so unfair. You don't even know her, and I've never had a friend before in my life.
You can make other friends. I've been thinking about it, and you're old enough to go to a real school now. I've already registered you for this fall.
This news almost made me forget how angry I'd been at Dad. On the first day of 9th grade, I was waiting at the bus stop when I heard a voice behind me. Hey there, stranger. Wanna walk to school together? I know an awesome bakery we can get breakfast from. It was the girl from the other night. I knew Dad didn't want me hanging out with her, but we'd just be going to the bakery. I found out her name was Casey, and she'd only recently moved here. Suddenly, I noticed we were walking down a back alley. Listen, we're not actually going to a bakery. We're gonna spray paint every house on this block. Are you in? No way! We could get in huge trouble. Plus, why would you want to vandalize someone's property? It's not a big deal, trust me. Don't you want to have a little adventure? Well, I'd never really had any adventure before, so without thinking, I started spray painting all over the building, and then Casey and I ran away laughing. What a rush! But little did I know, that was just the beginning of the trouble we'd get into. I secretly continued hanging out with Casey because even though she was a total delinquent, she was also exciting. Soon enough, we started ditching class every morning and pulling pranks all over the neighborhood. We didn't get caught for the pranks, but Dad got a letter from school that I hadn't attended morning classes for several months.
This says you'll face suspension if you continue this, Hannah. The minute I let you have a little freedom, this is what happens.
So what if I miss a few classes? I'm just enjoying my teenage years, 2 of which you ruined by never letting me go out alone. That night, I snuck out at 3 a.m. to meet Casey. She and I were gonna do a little revenge prank on a boy at school named Mateo. He'd reported us for cheating on a test last week, which had landed us in detention. I was just unrolling some toilet paper to wrap around a tree when suddenly I saw flames shoot up. The toilet paper had gotten caught in a garden candle, and now the yard was on fire. We ran and called the fire brigade. By the time they arrived, the garden was destroyed. Mateo's family called the police, and Casey and I were taken to juvie for the night. I felt a guilt I'd never felt before. Mateo and his family didn't deserve this. Plus, Dad was being sued for thousands of dollars. What kind of sick person had I become? A few days later, I was getting out of bed when I felt something pointy under my pillow. It was an envelope with my name on it, and inside, I found a letter. To Hannah at 15 years old, from 25-year-old Hannah from the future. In this letter, I'll tell you about each event about to happen so you can change your future for the better, or else you'll make a lot of mistakes and have many regrets. April 5th, 2023. Dad went to a work meeting. You will have to make yourself breakfast. You will find ants in your bathtub. It was obvious Dad had written this, pretending to be my future self as a kind of wake-up call, because sure enough, he wasn't home and my bathtub was crawling with ants, which he'd obviously planted there. Did he really think I was this gullible? Just then, I heard the front door open. Hey, why are you still in your pajamas? It's just been a long morning. I still feel so awful about what happened. We went too far, but I realized Casey wasn't listening. Instead, she was looking at my dumb fortune-telling letter. Oh, don't mind that. My dad wrote that pretending to be my future self, so I'd get scared and get my act together. Can't say I blame him, though. Casey just laughed and we headed to school, but as the day passed, I noticed something strange. Every event the letter predicted came true. The letter said I'd find a melted candy bar in my locker, and And I did, even though I hadn't put it there. The letter also accurately predicted that I'd get asked to try out for the school play. How far had Dad gone to mess with my head? Or was it someone else who'd written the letter? I called Dad at lunchtime and told him everything, but he didn't admit to anything. He just called an hour later to tell me he'd checked our home security footage and said no one had broken in. So if no one broke into the house, then that means you wrote the letter to teach me some kind of lesson. It also means you broke into my locker and have some other people in on it too. Dad kept telling me he didn't, but I knew he was lying. I sat alone on the bleachers the next day after school, feeling really annoyed about the whole thing, when Mateo walked up to me.
Oh, look, it's the jerk who burnt down my yard. Do you have to sit here? We have baseball practice now.
Please, let me be. I'm just having a bad day.
Yeah, I had one of those last week when you destroyed my garden. Whatever. If you want to watch our practice, then
I just don't get why my dad would go through all this effort to get in my head. I mean, I get that maybe I've been going through a rebellious phase, but I'm like that because he's been an overprotective psycho my whole life. I mean, just look at this letter he wrote, pretending to be me 10 years from the future. Oh, and he set it up so every prediction is accurate. He planted ants in my tub.
Look, I don't know who wrote this letter, but maybe you should see it as an opportunity to make better choices in your life and actually become a nicer person. Just a suggestion.
Maybe he had a point. I did need to get my act together, so that week, I decided to use the letter to my benefit. When I saw in the letter that I had a pop quiz, I studied ahead and got an A. When I saw they'd be giving away free clothes at the local secondhand store, I made sure I was the first in line. I even decided to bring some to the homeless shelter. But when I arrived there, I saw Mateo handing out sandwiches. Hey, fancy seeing you here.
Wow, I didn't expect to see you here either. Actually, I used to live in this shelter when I was a kid. My parents do pretty well for themselves now, but I remember how hard it was. So now I like to come and help out.
Wow, I had no idea you went through that. I guess I am new to this whole giving back thing, but you gotta start somewhere, right?
That's true. So, is you giving back a one-time thing, or are you gonna take the advice from your future self and actually become a better person?
I don't know. I think I do want to change for the better.
Well, you can start by helping me replant my garden.
That weekend, I went to Mateo's house to work on the garden and discovered he knew a lot about plants. He went on and on about them, and I'd never seen him look so happy. Mateo, I really am sorry about what I did. I don't know why Casey and I thought it would be a funny prank. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I'll do everything I can to make it up to you.
Well, lucky for you, I don't like holding grudges, but you are gonna help me make this yard awesome.
Mateo stared into my eyes, and for some reason, it made my heart dance. I drove home feeling peaceful, but when I arrived, I saw a letter taped to the door with my name on it. Oh boy, another weird letter. April 18th, 2023. Mateo will ask you out. I felt myself blush reading that. Would this one come true, like all the others? The next morning at school, I sat near Mateo on the bus and even waved at him, but he just smiled at me and then joined his friends. I waited all day for him to give me some attention, but he barely acknowledged me, and I felt disappointed. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I caught him at the library after school. Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. Are you okay? You seem tense.
It's just that I got another letter yesterday with a prediction.
Oh yeah? What was it?
I was about to answer when Mateo checked his phone, and I saw a picture of him with a girl on his lock screen. Who's that?
Oh, that's Daniela. She's amazing. I don't know anyone quite like her. Daniela taught me everything I know about gardening.
He went on and on about how perfect Daniela was, and I felt like an idiot.
Anyway, you wanted to tell me something important?
It's not important. I gotta go. I just wanted to curl up in bed and cry. But then I saw another envelope taped to the door, addressed to me. April 22nd, 2023. The day you and Casey go to a concert, Casey will get in a car accident. No, this is too much. Suddenly, I felt myself shake with rage. I was so sick of these stupid letters. I wasn't gonna let them mess with my head anymore. Casey's parents were out of town that weekend, and she was gonna drive us to the concert in her dad's old truck, and I wasn't gonna let anything stop us from going. The night of the concert, I waited for Casey outside, except half an hour went by and she didn't arrive. And then I got the call. Casey's truck broke down and crashed on the road, and she was in a serious condition. I couldn't believe it. The letter had been right. I rushed to the hospital as fast as I could, and there I received shocking news. The doctor said I'm gonna need a kidney transplant. A kidney transplant? Casey, this is all my fault. Why is it your fault? Because the letter warned me about it. I understand now. Those letters were from my future self trying to protect me. This is something I could have stopped. Just then, Casey's parents arrived.
We told you several weeks ago that if you wanted to go to that concert, you'd have to take the bus. I explained to you that my truck was too old to drive.
Well, I thought you were exaggerating. I didn't think you were serious. Of course you didn't.
didn't, because you're an irresponsible train wreck who never takes anything seriously. Why can't you be more like your sisters?
Casey's eyes welled up hearing that, and I just couldn't take it. So the next morning, I told Dad and the doctor that I wanted to donate my kidney to Casey, and luckily, I was a match. I stayed in the hospital for a week while they did the surgery. I was feeling really weak when I arrived home, but Dad said he had to show me something important in his office.
It's about those letters you've been getting from your future self. Hannah, it's you who wrote a letter to yourself 3 weeks ago. It was after you got arrested and you told me that you wanted to change your life, and I suggested you write yourself a letter, pretending to be 25-year-old Hannah from the future, giving your present 15-year-old self advice.
But I don't remember that happening.
I've been waiting for the right day to tell you this, but you suffer from blackouts and short-term memory loss. It's why when you were little, I never let you leave the house alone. I told your school and even Casey about your condition, but I asked them not to mention it to you. I didn't want to scare you or make you feel bad, but it was wrong to keep this a secret.
So this is me on the screen writing the letter?
Yes, and you already knew about every event you predicted. You just didn't remember that you knew those things. Like, we both found the ants in your bathtub the night before.
And I must have heard somehow about the pop quiz and bought a candy bar that I left in my locker. And I must have written myself 2 more letters. And I must have been there when Casey's parents had warned her about not using the truck because it was dangerous. I didn't go to school the next day, and I didn't even leave my room. Then around evening time, Dad knocked on my door and told me that someone had come to see me. It was Mateo.
I heard that you donated a kidney to Casey. I wanted to check and see how you were feeling.
I'm still recovering, but I'm really glad that Casey's gonna be okay. As Mateo and I hung out, he told me that the flowers we had planted were starting to grow, and I told him about everything that had happened with the letter and my short-term memory loss condition.
Wow, that must have been a lot to take in.
Yeah, but not all the letters were accurate. For some reason, one of them said that you'd ask me out, but I know that never happened because you have a girlfriend, Daniela.
What? Daniela's not my girlfriend. She's my cousin. And how do you know I'd never ask you out? You may not remember, but I did flirt with you a while back. You know, before the whole cheating and vandalism catastrophe. You probably could sense that I liked you the same way you sensed that Casey might hurt herself driving that old truck.
Well, over the past week, I've grown to like you. You're an amazing person, Mateo, and you inspired me. I hope one day I really can change for the better.
But you are changing, Hannah. You just donated a kidney. You're a different person than you were a month ago, and it takes so much strength to grow from our mistakes.